Welcome to the program. Now, when it comes to the occurrence of an epidemic, every nation is vulnerable. Now, more than ever, those are the words of ECOWAS Chair John Dramani Mahama. He was speaking at the Sub-Regional Bodies Summit here in Accra. But the latest is that the European Union, which the EU, is giving a whopping $286 billion to be invested into research towards finding a cure for Ebola. Meanwhile, ECOWAS is due to issue what it calls a roadmap to dealing with Ebola disease in the sub-region. Eric Curtis Howard is our reporter at the summit, which is taking place in the national capital, Accra. He joins me on the line with some more to this. Eric, exactly what has ECOWAS decided on as far as Ebola is concerned?
Okay, friends, good evening. At this point in time, we're waiting for all the various heads of state to walk into the meeting room to decide on the roadmap. They have not done that yet. We are all waiting for that crunch roadmap to find a way to deal with the Ebola epidemic. But one thing I can confirm was that one thing I can tell you is that during the lunch break, some ECOWAS heads of state contributed money towards the fight of the Ebola disease. That was also different from what the EU have already contributed. And some contributed about, it was in paper, most of them were 1 million paper. Others also spoke about the effort that we do to help combat this. So there's various very tickets of information coming out from the various meetings that was held within the various heads of state. But what we do know is that within the next 15 minutes, so officials tell us, the various heads of state will walk into that very room, into the meeting room, and they'll tell us how much they are pledging, the ECOWAS heads of state are pledging in the fight against the Ebola virus. And two, they'll make a statement on the situation in Burkina Faso as to what ECOWAS governments are going to do to help the tension and to restore constitutional power in that particular country as well. And also, we will get to the roadmap aside putting together monetary contributions to fight the Ebola disease. What else would they be doing? And as you heard this afternoon, the AU said they're sending 200 doctors to affected countries to help with the fight of the Ebola disease. Probably ECOWAS also have a bigger plan, and they are waiting to know what that plan is.
Now, let's talk about reaction, though, even though, in as much as we wait for this big announcement from the Economic Community of West Africa State as far as Ebola is concerned, and obviously the latest with regards to Burkina Faso. What kind of reaction came, as a result of the various announcements made by the European Union? Talk about the amount for the cure, the amount for dealing with the disease on the West Africa sub-region, and of course, those amounts that were mentioned or pledged by the leaders at the summit today.
I can confirm to you that when the European Union made that particular announcement, especially when you listen to the President's statement where he said the Ebola disease is a global issue that should be tackled. And the announcement came as a shock. It came as a surprise to me because to give out $1 billion to affected countries to help with the vaccine and everything, $286 million to find a cure for the disease. It came as a big errand. I think it was one of the few statements in the whole that received one of the biggest handclaps from almost everybody seated and everything. It was a topic of discussion, especially we at the media group and who were listening to the discussion and everything. But that was within the closed-door session, but we, the media, had the privy information to listen to that particular statement from the EU, and I think it was one donation or one contribution that really took a lot of people by surprise. And they were like, if this money really should come on board, this money should really be mobilized within the next few days, within the next few hours, within the next few months to fight the Ebola disease, then there could be a headway. And officials are really hopeful that whatever is needed to be put in place to ensure that we tackle the Ebola menace, not as an ECOWAS country, not as an African disease, but as a global menace. So officials will start immediate work and to contain the situation.
And talk about global support. Yes, talk about global support. President John Dramani Mahama has been, reiterating that particular point. But credits, we'll leave it here. We'll let you join us again. And of course, it should be in less than 15 minutes from now, where we'll be hearing from the leaders of ECOWAS as they make that major statement regarding Ebola and, of course, the latest on Burkina Faso. We obviously will be giving you live visuals from the Mervyn Peak Hotel here in Accra, where the ECOWAS summit is taking place. But meanwhile, the head of the UN mission charged with fighting Ebola in West Africa says he does not yet have the resources necessary to, as it were, defeat it. But now that the resources are coming in, what's it going to be? His name is Tony Banbury. He said more help was urgently needed despite significant contributions from UK, China, Cuba, and the United States of America. But he was hopeful of achieving the target of 70% bed space for new cases and 70% safe burials by December this year. Well, the confirmed death toll is now 4,818, and he goes on to say that the World Health that's according to the World Health Organization, but the numbers are down since the World Health Organization previously reported the figures last Friday. As it says, it has changed the way the figures are collated. Let's now speak to Sido Ahor, who is a national coordinator of the Coalition for Universal Access to Health. Now, Sido Ahor, we're of course picking up information that the European Union is investing 286 million towards research to find a cure for Ebola, and further 1 billion to affected countries. That obviously must come as good news.
I think this is true. And what I think is that the starting point is that African governments and for that matter, African governments should understand that this is a problem. So it's a problem.
Maybe you might want to reposition yourself. Your line is a bit muffled, and so we can get it clearer. We can hear you clearer. Hello, Sido Ahor?
Yeah, very well.
Okay,
very
I think
well.
it's better now. Go on ahead.
Thank you very much. I was saying that this is certainly good news. This is certainly encouraging. But then I was saying that first, we as Africans and African governments must first understand that we are the people who are affected. It is our problem, even though Ebola is now a global health problem, that we must take responsibility. We must begin to take the steps. So if the EU has come to give this support to us, what it means is that we must also show commitment in terms of what we can do as a continent to be able to find solutions to the problem.
What kind of commitment are you looking for? In the case of ECOWAS, for instance, our reporter tells us that just after the European Union made the announcement, there were some leaders at the auditorium who also made some pledges and also went on to reiterate their commitment in helping in the fight against Ebola. Is that a kind of posturing that you need as a way of support in dealing with this epidemic?
Absolutely so, because before this meeting, we were even looking at the stage whereby ECOWAS were met earlier on, found out to contribute, to begin to contribute, each member countries to contribute to set up a kind of fund to tackle the Ebola pandemic, to find out how much we need to put into research, how much we need to pump into health systems to make sure that we'll be able to contain the Ebola and to prevent further outbreaks. So that if they have done so, then they can then see how their development partners can also support them. But in this particular case, the EU has taken the lead, and then they are now, also making that commitment. So we're saying that we should have taken the lead. At least Africa has the resources. ECOWAS has the resources. We are rich in various ways or in diverse ways. So we should have taken the lead. And that was why I said that we must always know that we are the people affected, and we must begin to find solutions to the problems that afflict us. Beyond that, I think this is really encouraging, and that we want to see the money put into the right use, making sure that it is channeled for the purpose for which the support has come, particularly focusing on research in terms of finding a cure for this problem. Because Africa, we know Africa has a brain.
Yes.
Whether Africa, West Africa, East Africa, Southern Africa, Northern Africa, we have the brains, we have the sciences, all right? We have the medical doctors, we have the epidemiologists, we should be able to at least have a research center where we go to and other places that we can develop and make sure that we resolve them so that we retain our scientists who will on day-to-day basis carry out experiments to find solutions. Because if you go to these research centers outside the country, in the other developed countries that are doing most of this fabulous work, you will find that you have Africans work in these research centers. So why can't we establish our own research centers and contribute? If you cannot do it as individual countries, the whole of ECOWAS can set up one ECOWAS center of health research, and member countries will be able to contribute to this center, and on day-to-day basis, we will have scientists who will be digging deep to find the causes and the solutions to health problems.
You seem very confident, as far as the African scientists are concerned, and in as much as this amount is coming in from the European Union to help find a cure. Are you that? I mean, let me just go on and test your confidence. Are you that certain that perhaps we can have the cure coming from the African continent?
Absolutely, yeah. We could have even found it earlier.
Hello? Mr. Hall, if you could just reposition yourself again for me. The line is getting bad. Going back to that question, you say you're pretty much confident that we can find a cure here in Africa?
I think so. I don't have doubt in the scientists we have in Africa, be it Africa, Southern Africa, or Eastern Africa. Right? What we have not been able to do is to resource the scientists we have, establish the center of research and resource and provide them with all the resources they need and motivation to investigate the causes of the diseases that afflict us. We have failed to do that, and that's why it is as though we do not have scientists who can find solutions to the problem we have. We have the brain, and they can do it. So for me, this money, part of it should go to the research and making sure that we establish the research center, or we can just adapt one of the existing research centers to ECOWAS and resource it. Make sure that we employ our best scientists so that on day-to-day basis, they will investigate into Ebola and other diseases that we suffer from in Africa.
And indeed, part of the money is going into research. But looking at the collaboration between ECOWAS and EU, do you see that in fast-tracking moves to find a cure?
I think so, because I think the European Union also know that, just as America and other countries know that Ebola is not just a disease for the African continent alone. And for them, strategically, they believe that addressing Ebola from a distance is to see how they can support Africa to find a solution to address the Ebola. If that is achieved, then they are equally safe, because we know that it's not a trans-border or trans-regional disease now. It can move from one continent to the other. Now, so for me, I think that's a smart move.
Now, since the outbreak of the disease, many have criticized the slow pace at which ECOWAS put out some sort of an intervention to deal with the Ebola virus. Now, would you say that people will begin to revise their notes as far as the ECOWAS body is concerned, as per what they're doing now in tackling the Ebola epidemic?
I think they must, but in any case, I honestly think that it's quite disappointing. It's quite a shame, because I know that people have quite expressed disgust about it, because, like I said in the beginning, we as ECOWAS should have taken the lead in getting in kind of like providing some funding to start something. So the question is, if the EU has not come to provide this funds, were we going to sit down, throw our hands in the air, and hoping that a miracle will come from the sky when we have the resources to be able to do that, especially when we know that this disease is so fatal? We should have taken the steps much earlier, so that this support will be like an addition to what we as a region has taken,
Very well.
Honestly, we are quite disappointed that ECOWAS did not take this step much earlier.
Very well. Very well.
I think it's not too late. It's not too late. The government in the ECOWAS organization can still make resources available. But then also importantly, the use of this money is very important. We want to see that this money goes into the right thing, not buying into vehicles and people end up for the wrong purposes this money should be used properly. And I believe the EU, working with ECOWAS, will put in place mechanisms in terms of how the resources will be applied to address the Ebola pandemic.
All right, I'm going to have to thank you very much, Ms. Aho, for talking to us here on today's big story. Now, still to come, though, I'll let you know how government failed to transfer 269 million cedis actually, of workers' Tier 2 pension contribution into a Bank of Ghana account. It's a revelation from the Pensions Regulatory Authority. We'll let you into this fast-breaking story here on Joy News. But also on today's big story, we're expecting ECOWAS to come up with a blueprint towards peaceful transfer of power in Burkina Faso. Already political leaders have agreed to a transition date of November 2015 to transfer power from the military after elections. Now, let's do some analysis on this ahead of the communique, which will be issued in a few minutes to come. Professor Amin Al-Hassan is a political scientist, and he joins us on the line. Prof, thank you very much. Last time we spoke, you were not too happy at ECOWAS posturing with regards to happenings in Burkina Faso. But for now, you know for a fact that ECOWAS chair and some of the leaders on the sub-region have been to Burkina Faso to ensure that this transition process is smooth. Would you give ECOWAS thumbs up now?
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to this discussion. I think that the expectation, what ECOWAS is up to, is something that they are up to, and they are capable. The ECOWAS as a forum is capable of kind of giving some kind of mentorship and direction to the transition process in Burkina Faso. And I think that it is the forum that African Union looks up to and the United Nations looks up to. And if we do not, we neighboring countries, if we are not able to help Burkina Faso transition into an elected government, then we will have ourselves to blame.
Last we spoke, we're talking about how professional the military can be about this whole situation leading to the transition process. Now that we've had the ECOWAS chair and other leaders on the West Africa sub-region speak to them, do you think going forward they're really going to adhere to some of the terms and be professional enough in ensuring that the smooth transition?
I think yes, largely yes. And the expectation is that the military will understand that ECOWAS somehow has a big stick. If you look at the kind of sanctions they are likely to spell out to them, it can really put them into fear to understand that they do not have a chance. However, if it turns out that in the wider global geopolitics, a particular power sees that they can use the military for their end, then the military might be deceived into thinking that they can play games. But so far, clearly, we understand that the military seems to be getting the message from ECOWAS, and they are likely to be very professional in the transition. Now, and it is in the interest of the military to actually do that.
And talk about the transition. November 15 is the date, obviously, that we're all expecting. But how feasible is it that power be transferred peacefully?
Well, 1 year is quite a good time enough. In fact, 1 year is quite a good time enough. And I think that we do not expect any serious challenges. Given the position of ECOWAS, the African Union, and the United Nations interest, as well as the EU in affairs in Burkina Faso, I believe that if there are some resource constraints, these organizations will come forward to help Burkina Faso to get through. And I think, given the enthusiasm among civil society, among the political parties, and among all stakeholders in Burkina Faso, I don't see why there should be any problem to use 1 year to conduct an election.
And for the political parties, how are they going to, rally around or get support for themselves going into the elections that will be held subsequently?
Well, after having been denied this freedom of political parties for 27 years, we should expect that they are going to commit some big blunders here and there, and minor blunders here and there. But largely speaking, these parties will learn as they mobilize. And like all other abiding democracies, you are likely to have some mistakes here and there. But generally, we are expecting that these political parties, there will be some coalitions and there will be some associations that will come together too. find this arrangement. So I don't really think that the political parties will be too challenged to use this 1 year to adjust and set themselves up.
Okay, I'm going to have to thank you very much, Professor Amin Al-Hassan, Director of Development and Policy at the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Now, moving on, we obviously would want to tell you that Joy News has intercepted a document from the National Pensions Regulatory Authority to the Finance Committee of Parliament, which suggests over 200 million cedis of pension funds collected from contributors has not been paid into the designated account lodged at the Bank of Ghana. And details are that, of course, we intercepted that, and we're trying to get on the phone line, Kwaku Kwatim. But then again, the report of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority to Parliament reveals that government, through the Controller and Accountant General, has failed to transfer more than 200 million Ghana cedis of workers' pension contribution to the designated Bank of Ghana account. And the controversy over exactly how much has been lodged into the account and who should manage the Tier 2 pensions funds obviously forced workers to call a strike that was called off on Tuesday. Let's go on the phone lines now and speak to a member of the Finance Committee in Parliament and also Obuasi West MP, Kwaku Kwatin. Good evening to you, and thank you very much for joining us on today's big story. But does this come to you as a surprise at all, this revelation?
No, it doesn't. Don't forget that this report was presented to the Finance Committee last week, and we did put the questions to the NPRA whether government's refusal to transfer these funds to the various, the Bank of Ghana into the various accounts will not make workers worse off, because the workers will be denied the interest on the investment that the money have been put into. And the NPRA was not in a position to speak to that, because really it is a burden for government. So it does not come to me as a surprise at all.
And the government made some announcement about how much has been contributed into the funds already, 1 million there, and today we're hearing some 200 million of it, of this, pensions have not been put into the account. Exactly what difference does it make, really?
Well, it makes a lot of difference. To begin with, it is not just 200 million. It's actually 269 million as of July. That was what was outstanding. I should think that by now we are probably looking at about 300 million. Now, it makes a lot of difference, because if the monies are being invested into treasury bills and government bonds, as the NPRA made the Select Committee on Finance understand, then it means government keeping these monies would deny the workers of the benefits thereof. But a more important question is, if you take 2012, for instance, it is only in May and July that government did not pay. Government paid up to April, skipped May, paid June, and skipped July. And then you come to 2013, government paid from January up to about July, and from August to December, government did not pay. In 2014, January government paid, the rest of the months government has not paid. Does it not suggest, given that government seemed to be paying and leaving, that probably government had no intention of transferring these funds? Now, if that is the case, then it vindicates the case the workers are making, that they should appoint their own trustees, so that if government was not doing the right thing, or government was being disingenuous with these transfers, they could prompt the workers to take it up with government. But if government would appoint their trustee for the workers, then whether or not the funds get transmitted or not, the trustee appointed by government, feeling obligated to government, will not give workers the full picture.
And so what are you saying? That this is likely to deepen the mistrust that we've already witnessed somehow between the workers and government?
It would. And it also should bring it to the attention of all of us that government's refusal to pay dedicated levies, for instance, the National Health Insurance Levy. By law, government is supposed to collect that and within a month put it in the National Health Insurance Fund. That account is in arrears for a year. So it appears to be a tendency of government to collect money that should not be used just in the budget like that, but put into the dedicated funds, government has a tendency not to do this and to use the money for other purposes. And it will deepen the mistrust. I think it makes a clear case that government must get out of second-tier pension. They have no business there.
Now, going forward, I mean, we're talking about the posturing, what the likely posturing of the workers would be, and whether this would not give them another opportunity to, as it were, call for another strike. I mean, you're on the finance committee. What do you know would be government's answer to all this?
I doubt that government would have any answer. What I expect government to do is to, one, admit that the information given us by the communications minister sometime this week was inaccurate information, and that he misled the country. They should just apologize for that. But more importantly, government ought to be telling us when it will transmit these amounts, because the NPRA says the monies are being invested into treasury bills and into bonds. Now, if government is keeping these amounts, then when government is going to transmit, would it include what the workers would have gained if government had transmitted it earlier and those funds had been invested? So I think government's response should be immediate release of these funds, plus what workers have lost by way of investment because government kept the funds. That should be government's response.
Very well. I'm going to have to thank you very much, Kwaku Kwarteng, for speaking to us. Let me just go on the line and bring in Dr. Justice Yankson. He's with the Ghana Medical Association. Doc, I don't know what you feel by now hearing this revelation, the fact that government failed to transfer some 269 million cedis of your pension, Tier 2 pension for that matter, into a Bank of Ghana account. Really, how does this news come to you?
Well, I mean, it all adds up to the bigger, problem that we are all facing. I mean, all along, for us as unions, we have stated clearly that no disclosures have been made to us. Suddenly, we hear of figures in the region of 440 million. The next day, another government official gives 1.1. At one point, MPI says 1.6. So many months down the line, they still come back and say 1.6. So clearly, there's something amiss.
So what? What's this?
Yes?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. So what? What's this going to do to you? Would it change your current stance, which is obviously you calling off the strike?
We as unions, like you said, are law abiding. Government clearly is not abiding by the rules. As we've all seen, we have made a promise to the people of Ghana that in line with the directives from the court, we are suspending our strike for 7 days. Within that period,
so this revelation does not change anything at all?
Well, it adds up to the bigger mess. So for us, I mean, out of respect for the court and the rule of law, we have decided to suspend the strike for the 7 days because the order said government had that injunction for just 8 days. So as at last week, Tuesday, when we held our press conference, only 7 days, was left. So after 7 days, we've indicated to the people of Ghana that this struggle will continue unless some other directives come from the court.
Very well.
But looking at all that is happening, I tell you what, Labour is going to reconvene and look at this bigger picture that has been thrown in the mess that we are all seeing. And I'm sure you're going to get better and bigger responses from us very soon.
Very well. I'm going to have to thank you very much, Dr. Justice Yankson, Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, speaking to us here on today's big story. Obviously, expect more angles on this. And the bigger question is, where is the money? We'll get those answers for you on today's, obviously on News at 8. But coming up shortly is an interactive segment of the show. Stay with us.